Hey girl, how you be?
I'm here. I'm in this frame.
Um, yeah, that's a
I'm
good way.
dressed. I'm dressed. I'm showered. I'm wearing Old Spice. I am hydrated. I'm, you know,
Wait. Is Old Spice? Is there any aluminum in there? Should I be concerned about your breast?
it is not, it does not have aluminum in there. It is pure petroleum. It's just like total smell good crap. I've been wearing it since middle school. It's kind of vile, but I still wear it. And yeah,
But they did have those really good ads, so I forgive them.
that's true. Yeah, you can get away with a lot on an ad.
I'm on a horse. That's in there. Yeah.
Very nice.
Today. Oh wait, I guess we should tell people what we're doing. What the
You
hell is today?
should.
We should.
Yeah.
Uh,
What are we doing, Lindsay?
what do we, Starbucks plug? Starbucks
Oh
plug.
wow, I even had the little logo like out.
Starbucks, you're welcome to
Yeah.
sponsor this. The first episode of Two Poets, colon, talk
Mm-hmm.
about race.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like everybody listening to know that we struggled street over that title for a good 3 weeks.
Yeah, it had different forms, but I like it. I
I
think
like,
it sounds good and it's to the point. I mean, it's just like a poem. Like,
and a well placed colon.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The kind of colon we can all get behind.
exact. Because what if we said two poets talk about race, colon, and then nothing after?
Oh,
Boom.
like a fill in the blank.
Yeah. Oh,
Go.
okay. Next week we're rechanging the name.
Next week, join us for our new show.
Has a completely different track. Okay, so in talking about that,
Hmm.
I'm wanting to share this little text here from the book Creative Quest
Ooh.
by the author Quest Love, which has been my little nugget of joy every night in the midst of, COVID-19 and social upheaval. Who
Hmm.
doesn't want to cuddle up with Quest Love at the end of the evening?
Anyone?
I know, crickets, because we all want to cuddle up with Questlove at the end of the evening. Uh, he's speaking about Laurie Anderson, and he's quoting her where she says that she likes to create because she believes that it has the power to change the world.
Mm.
Uh, she says, why? It makes me laugh. It makes me feel like I can change things in response to her creativity. It means something different almost every day because I'm what you'd call a multimedia artist. Some days I'm working on music, some days I'm working on animatronics or just fixing computers. That's one of the big new jobs that I've gotten as an artist. In terms of what it actually means, I don't really know. The most exciting art I see is things that redefine it. And you kind of go, is that art? I'm not sure. I like it when it's just not so clear if it's art or politics or something else. I probably trust laughter more than anything that goes through my mind. If I really am laughing, I am thinking there's something here that is physical as well as mental.
Mm.
What poet laureate Abby Murray, which I will call you from now until the end of time.
Yeah, I forgot my sash.
Yes. Can you please get your sash for next episode? Um, what are your thoughts on that about creating art because it has the potential to change things?
I really, so while you were reading that, I was thinking how it begins first is it doesn't change things, it builds things every day. I mean, every single day it's building the art we live in, the community we live in,
Mhm.
the resources that we have. It's building constantly. Um, so I get that. I'm on board with that. And I guess what's new to me, like I feel like I knew this, but I needed to hear this, that it's different every day and that art looks different every day and it looks different for even the artist every
Yeah.
day. It's not always the same thing over and over. And I was thinking how, as you were reading that, and she's talking about the different mediums, I was thinking about like our different roles in, this social upheaval that we're experiencing again, our different roles in creating an anti-racist society. What are our roles? Like, what do we get up in the morning and do?
Yes.
What is our art every day? And it's not always in a march, and it's not always public, and but sometimes it is, and sometimes it's all day in a march, and sometimes it's all day public, and it never really looks the same
Yeah.
from day to day, from piece to piece.
It's interesting you say that because I also, in reading this, found myself recognizing a pressure that I was putting on myself.
Mhm.
Like, if all of my writing wasn't political, then I was wasting my time.
Yeah.
Um, or if it didn't have the potential to inspire the masses, I was wasting my time. And in reading this, it reminded me that some of my poetry, some of my
Mhm.
creative outlets will go that way. And then sometimes, even in the midst of social unrest and the potential for change that feels so cracklingly available around us right now, that sometimes I'm just a girl, who is trying to navigate being a mom and, like, I wonder if this boy likes me. And,
Yeah.
like, what's for dinner tonight? And sometimes my art's about that too. And it doesn't discount the other work. Does that make
Right. Yeah. Well, and because we're kind of living in a culture too right now that is a discount culture. Like,
Mm,
you have to be doing the right thing at the right time with the right people. And if you're not, God knows what you can lose, Um, not just status, but you can lose safety, security.
yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to, I don't know if perform is the right word, but I get what you mean when you were saying, if my poems aren't political, then I'm wasting my time. And I've felt too before, like, if I am not being explicitly political, I must be avoiding it uh,
Mm,
in some way. And that's like the full Catholic childhood coming out, like, like, how
when
is
I
it?
say
Yeah,
amen,
like,
amen.
mea culpa. Like, how is it my fault that I did this wrong? But there's a sense of, and I've been paying attention. Like, I've been writing a poem a week now for like 3 years and almost four. And there's a lot of pressure to write a certain way and to write for the right people at the right time. It's where publishing comes in and all this. And like, and having to remember that poetry is always available and that poetry is not always right
Yeah.
or for the right people or at the right time. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I've definitely felt that this week. Have you?
Yes, but I guess the irony is, or on the other side of that, I find myself really also, maybe the word is judgmental of artists who are putting work out there that seems to seem as though they're ignoring the topic completely. right?
Yes.
It's like, our, hmm?
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm living under where, and it's often poems that seem to take place around rocks. I was sitting by the banks of the, river run wild, and
Yes.
and I'm like,
And there was a bird.
wow.
Bird came, and it was so bird-like.
The bird.
It flew like a bird.
Yeah, and I'm like, did the bird fly to the protest because, the bird wanted to get involved? Like, what? How are you missing it completely? And so I don't know. I'm noticing my own contradiction that I feel as though, as artists, if you are not in some way
Mhm.
rooted in this moment, um, that what is the point of art then? What is the point of being
Right.
artists if not to help us as a society express this
Mhm.
moment, but fully, right? That it can
Yeah.
be both my individual experience of navigating the day and my macro experience of navigating
Right.
our culture.
Yeah. Well, and it's like what you were saying earlier, where you are politically engaged. You're not turning away from what is going on. And you also need to make sure that your daughter is learning how to read this one tricky word that has been tricky for the past 2 weeks. You're also, applying for a job. Um, so we're doing a lot, and I think it's not so much. I definitely I've definitely been seeing poems and pictures, paintings, other artistic projects that I'm like, do you know what's going on? Are you turning away from it because it's breaking you, or because you just can't stand it? Like you just
Yeah.
can't deal with it. Why are you turning away? It makes me curious. Um, but I think there's also like poetry is a way of really seeing the whole self, seeing
Mm,
the Lindsay that is politically, you are alive, you are aware, engaged, but also making dinner, also caring for a small person who needs you, also making a job application look as good as you need it to. That's a whole person. That's a lot.
yeah.
Um, you know, and we can't just wake up in the morning and just do one thing
Mm,
day. I mean, we bring our histories into every single morning. So, like, we are whole
absolutely.
people.
Well, and especially as a Black American right now, I find, like Audre Lorde says, that a part of the way I, as a Black woman, can be contributing to this revolution is attending to my own mental health,
Hmm.
right? So, why don't we get to our poems? Because, this is what came out of me the other night. I was sitting there, and I think I've told you before, which is weird. It's totally weird. But when I feel anxious, I get really cold. And so, trying to figure out, why am I cold? What am I feeling anxious about?
Hmm.
And, my kitties were in bed, and this flowed out of me. I said, skin of my skin, flesh of my flesh. I know you will not believe me, but I did it all for you. The pain that I feel is nothing to what it would have been if I had not left him. And for me, one, the cadence there, the repetition of the offering, but then also my awareness of, I'm the mommy and I know better, right? In these words of, uh, the pain that but I feel it too. What could. No, it would, right? Like
Hmm.
these things of how do I both be a revolutionary? How do I be an entrepreneur? How do I
Yeah.
be a great mom? And will my kids forgive me for it when
Mhm.
they're adults?
Yeah. Yeah. And can you be, it's so hard for me, I think, to remember that we can be all these things, that I don't have to put down my, parenthood and pick up my revolutionary,
Mm,
that these are things that we not only can we not choose to put one down for the other, but we really can't. We don't have that choice. We are all of us. Like we are all of ourselves in in ourselves.
yeah.
I think in that poem too, reading it, just having heard some of your other poems, did you notice there's a repetition of pause in there? There's a
Mm,
repetition of like the little breaths at the end of the line between certain phrases. There's a repetition of silence. As it's almost like the thought is developing on the page,
yes.
like as it's being read, um, which makes it so immediate and also really approachable. But it's interesting to hear that we think of repetition as a repetition of language, a repetition of something. We rarely think about the repetition of nothing. Um, that's powerful. Nice.
What you got, girl? What you got? Step up. Step. I want your words, girl.
Oh my god, that you froze right when you were like, up to the that was perfect. That's a perfect shot.
That was my replay of wait, what was the cheerleading movie with Gabriella Union and the other girl that played the vampire when she was a kid? Tangent.
I got nothing. Uh
Set It Off. Step It. I feel like Set It Off was not that movie.
Step
Um,
it up.
Step
Step
It Up.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
All
All,
right.
all I
For
did was
people
watch
out there
Star
listening, please drop in the comments. What's the movie we're trying to remember?
what is this movie? Because like my locker in middle school was just covered in Luke Skywalker, so I don't know anything.
And also, we may not be able to continue with our lives until somebody tells us the
Right.
name of this very important movie. Pivotal. Pivotal.
Yeah, it is pivotal. So I wrote a couple of different poems since the last time we talked. Um, but I also grabbed one off my shelf because I wasn't sure if the ones that I was writing, number one, were ready, and number two would just kind of organically work in the conversation. And I love this book, Poetry
Mm,
Like Bread. It
mm.
is Poets of the Political Imagination, and it's from Curbstone Press. If you ever see a copy in like a used bookstore, it's so worth it. That's where I got mine. I can't believe I paid $6 for this.
Oh,
Um, but one of the poets that I turn to often is Claribel Alegria. She was born in Nicaragua, but she grew up in El Salvador. She was born in the 50s, I think. Um, and it's funny because the poem that I put a sticky note on is so appropriate to sort of what we were talking about of like what the poet does, and also what the poem does, and like what our expectations of the poet and the poem are. So it's
mm.
a really short poem, actually. It's called Ars Poetica. I, poet by trade, condemned so many times to be a crow, would never change places with the Venus de Milo. While she reigns in the Louvre and dies of boredom and collects dust, I discover the sun each morning, and amid valleys, volcanoes, and debris of war, I catch sight of the promised land.
Mm. God,
And
I love that.
I love it. And isn't that like the reminder that where is it that as poets we forget to look at who we are every day, all of ourselves. We forget to see ourselves as the beautiful crow and start looking for the Venus de Milo. Like
Yeah.
and saying, no, that part's not that's not me. No, I don't want to see the me as an entrepreneur. I don't want to see the me who wastes an entire day writing a grant. That's boring. I don't want to see that. I want to see success. I want to see prize winning. I want to see popularity. I want to see book sales. When do we do that? When do we lose sight of that? When that's not how we move through life. We don't move. The Venus de Milo is not moving. It's not going anywhere.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes. And she seems very cold, just
yeah,
saying. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, she's nude. Like she probably is. She's probably fucking freezing and like,
freezing. I mean, in our 20s, I'm not going to say we didn't do it. We're like, the less clothes, the sexier. Freezing. Fucking
yes.
freezing. Yes.
Turns out,
And I love this imagery that she's conjured here of the crow, right? Because, everybody can relate to this relationship with crows in
mhm,
their life. And yet the crow has so much meaning and imagery in a lot of world cultures. And
yeah,
crows are extremely, extremely smart
hmm,
and have these really intricate social groups, and the way that they communicate, it's loud, it's assaulting, and yet there's something so much higher and so much more uh, what's the word I'm looking for, more nuanced to
mhm,
each of those sounds, each of those caws, right? And I love
yeah,
the idea of the poet in that same way. Our job is not always to be beautiful.
hmm,
It is, you certainly hear us, right?
yeah, yeah. It isn't really. I mean, we do see poems put on, the pedestal that Venus would be put on, a beautiful, this delicate seashell. And we do see poems raised up like that. And I'm guilty of that. I definitely do that with certain poems. Um, the poem I sent you earlier by Camille Dungy
Yeah.
is one of them. Um, this will hurt me more. That was brilliant. But we do that at what cost? We
Mm,
drop the crow, the pedestal less poet and poem. And just like you said, the crow contains its own mythology, its own magic. And we often discount that and say, no, no, we're looking for something we can put on a pedestal. And we
mm.
don't want to see the overworked, less than eloquent um, mom.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's not good enough. When it turns out that's what we really are searching for. Like that's humanity.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, to um, that charge, that call, that vein, we invite you all to please share with us in the comments below your poems that you have not been sharing, not been putting out there because you don't think they're ready, they're not polished enough, or you are thinking, who am I? Who am I to have a voice? Who am I to join this discussion? As Marianne Williamson reminds us, who are you not to have a voice? Who are you not to be great? And Poet Laureate Abby Murray and I, we invite you to come on this journey with us week after week to share our poems, share your dances, share your written text, whatever multimedia works.
Yeah.
And each of those is important when we talk about race and the world that we want to recreate as artists. Am I missing anything?
No, God, that was perfect.
Not good.
That was really perfect. I really want to hear from people because everyone is being impacted right now by what is happening, by what we're seeing coming out of the White House, from the Supreme Court, from the street, from marches. Everyone is being impacted. We all need to be speaking up about
Mm,
this. So I want to hear it. And I don't want it to come from that discount culture of, well, I'm not going to write a poem. It's really so and so who should be writing the poem. Well, no, it's you that should
yeah.
be.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
Welcome to Two Poets, talk about race. First episode down, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.